Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unwoke Thoughts. Big show today. Did you guys catch that press conference last night? Man, that was absolutely brutal. That was crazy. I cannot believe what happened during that press conference. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff happened, not just with the press conference, but also in the House and Senate. We got some kind of bad news with some of the stuff that we've been watching lately. But first of all, of course, the big one, Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe. But he held a big boy press conference last night. It was labeled a big boy press conference because he was supposed to prove to the entire world that not only is he a big boy, but in fact, he is the biggest boy. Yes, he is the biggest boy. Because remember, he is the commander-in-chief and also the presumptive Democrat nominee. So he needed to prove that he was the biggest boy, not just the big boy, okay? There are big boys and then there are the biggest boys. He was supposed to prove that he is the biggest boy. But during this biggest boy press conference, he called on a curated list of reporters, and in the midst of answering one of the totally unscripted questions, Joe Biden shocked the world. He shocked the world when he announced that he was nominating Donald Trump as his vice president. Yes, that came out of his mouth. This was a total shock to everyone, including his administration. And we have a live reaction of Secretary of State Antony Blinken's face, who you can tell was completely unaware that Biden had picked his opponent as VP. Yes. I guess they say to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Is that what they say? Isn't that what they say? So Biden, I guess, making a rare choice for VP. Kind of odd. But speaking of rare things, a rare photo is captured of President Trump meeting with President Putin at the NATO Summit, which is kind of odd because nobody even knew those two were in attendance, especially Putin. You wouldn't expect Putin to be at a NATO summit, but he was there because the photo is absolutely undeniable. Rachel Maddow says she believes that the Biden campaign may be giving Joe a more positive outlook on his chances to win against Donald Trump than what is actually reality. So we're gonna hear what Rachel Maddow has to say. Very interested in what she has to say. Joe Scarborough, Morning Joe. You guys saw him just a second ago. He opened up my show. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it. But he puts on his tinfoil hat the other day and considers a conspiracy theory that a certain powerful, specific Democrat is working behind the scenes to oust Joe Biden. So we're going to talk about who that might be. Vivek Ramaswamy calls Kamala Harris low IQ. But of course, we already knew this. But however, the more important thing is, Vivek did go on to confirm a theory I've had for a while, though. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Yes, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Me and Vivek, we're just two peas in a pod. It looks like the Biden campaign is still playing with the idea of a President Kamala Harris ticket, but they are doing it quietly behind the scenes. They're not going public with it. That's probably a good idea. We have an update on both Anna Paulina Luna's attempts to hold Merrick Garland in inherent contempt and also an update on the SAVE Act. And I'll give you a hint, it's not very good. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big one. Tickets for an upcoming Tucker Carlson show are going for an ungodly amount of money. You will not believe how much money these tickets are going for. These Tucker Carlson show tickets. Good for him. Good for him. Incredible. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the show. First of all, of course, the big one, Joe Biden. says that it is, in fact, Donald Trump who is his vice president, not Kamala Harris, which shocked the world. Totally out of left field. No one saw this coming. Wow.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one.
So not only does it sound like he picked Trump for vice president, but it sounds like Trump is switching genders because he called Trump a she. So that's concerning. Trump, if you are listening to this, stay a man, okay? Just don't do it. Don't fall for the brainwashing of the alphabet mafia. But that is absolutely incredible. Breaking news, guys. Biden-Trump ticket. That's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. But yeah, in all honesty, guys, that was a moment because I live streamed this press conference last night, and I was like, oh man, that is the perfect clip right there. I mean, of all the things for Joe Biden to do during this press conference to mix up Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, man, that just shows like he is. I get people make mistakes, but that's a big mistake right there when you mix up your opponent and your running mate. And of course, this was kind of not taken too well by Secretary of State Antony Blinken. This is a close-up of himself and Lloyd Austin when Joe Biden made this blunder. I'll play here in a second, but I really love watching these reactions of Antony Blinken because I feel like he has a hard time controlling his face. This is not the first time Antony Blinken has been caught reacting to something that Joe Biden has done. So he just has the best reactions. But this is what him and Lloyd Austin looked like when the flub happened.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is
some weird audio thing going on there. I don't know if it's just me, but if you notice Antony Blinken's face, he kind of looks down and like he has a visible reaction. Lloyd Austin, however, he's stone cold. He looks like he's zoned out. He looks like he might not even be listening to Joe Biden. Maybe Lloyd Austin has gotten to the point where, you know, he just kind of tones it out. Let me watch it again. I'm going to watch Lloyd Austin's face. He makes a little bit of a reaction. If you watch Lloyd Austin, he kind of flinches, just barely noticeable. He flinches. It's like a micro expression. So, incredible stuff. Joe Biden holding a big boy press conference where he announces that he is booting Kamala Harris off the ticket and, in fact, putting Donald Trump in there. So that's great stuff. Donald Trump reacts to Joe Biden, saying that mixing him up with Kamala Harris. Donald Trump truthed this out. He said, Crooked Joe begins his big boy press conference with, quote, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, though I think she was not qualified to be president. Great job, Joe. Yes. Great job, Joe Biden. Did a fantastic job there. And this was asked to him after the press conference. There was a reporter because all of these questions were curated. President Biden was reading off a list. This was supposed to be an unscripted press conference, right? Unscripted means, from what I understand it means that Joe Biden, well, hold on, let me rewind here. This was not just supposed to be an unscripted press conference. It was supposed to be a big boy press conference. And when I think of unscripted and big boy, I think of perhaps a press conference similar to what Donald Trump held when he was in office, where he would go up there, the press would yell out questions, and he would just take questions from anybody. That's what I thought of when I thought of unscripted and Big Boy, okay? What I didn't have in mind is that he was going to have a list of reporters, journalists to call on, and not take one unsolicited question. Not take one. He didn't take one random question. Very dubious that he didn't have any sort of indication what the questions, either what the questions were beforehand or what the topics were. At the end there, however, there was someone who called Joe Biden out on his mix-up of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And he said that, hey, Donald Trump right now is making fun of you because of what you did mixing up Kamala and Trump. What do you say to that? And he had like a weird reaction. I don't have the video. I should have gotten it in here. I don't have the video right now, but Joe Biden turned to the journalist, and this is all he said. He said, listen to him. So it was really odd what that was about, guys. But big news, rare photo, guys. We have a rare photo of President Putin and President Trump meeting. Yes, they met and shook hands at the NATO Summit, guys. This is pretty wild. If you look, there's captions here. We have Vladimir Zelensky, it might look like Vladimir Zelensky, but it's not. That's actually President Putin. We have President Putin meeting President Trump. Nice to meet you, President Trump. Hey, nice to meet you, President Putin. And if you don't know where this reference is, I will show you here in a second why, in fact, Zelensky is President Putin. So rare photo, guys. You might want to screenshot this frame of the video so that you can show it to your friends, because I bet they did not know that President Trump and President Putin were both at the NATO summit. So it was very, very interesting. Come on, guys. Like, the memes are so good. The memes are so good from the Biden administration. Or not coming out of the Biden administration, but by the MAGA crowd memeing about the Biden administration. They're just so funny. Every time I see them, they're so quick. They're so on point. They're so salient, relevant. Oh, I just love it. A few other clips from this press conference, if you didn't catch it last night. Joe Biden started randomly screaming about gun control. Yeah. Still ranting about gun control. And Biden just knows how to do it in the best of ways. He makes it sound weird, which I'm okay with, because I feel like if you want mass gun control and you say that we should have it, if you are going to purport to support some sort of thing like that, if you sound weird, I'm okay with it. Sound weird. I want people to recoil when they hear gun control.
Control guns, not girls. I mean,
What?
the idea, we're sitting around, this is where Kamala's so good as well. We're sitting around, more children are killed by a bullet than any other cause of death. The United States of America. What the hell are we doing? What are we doing? We got a candidate saying, promised the NRA, don't worry, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. We got a Supreme Court that is what you might call the most conservative court in American history. This is ridiculous.
So, of course, Joe Biden ranting about gun control. These are of course, the tried and true talking points of the Democrat Party. It's these things. It's gun control. It's abortion. It's alphabet mafia stuff. It's those things. Those are really the trigger thing. If you, as a Democrat, run out of something to say while you're giving a speech or a press conference or whatever, just start ranting about one of those topics. Talk about gun control. Talk about, women's rights. That's That's a tried and true thing. Another clip from this press conference, very interesting. Joe Biden kind of randomly looks at an audience member and asks, "What are you doing?" So more proof that this guy is kind of gone.
We're going to go to South Korea. We're going to get the chip. What are you doing? I'm going to get Japan and Korea. I'm going to go to South Korea. We're going to get the chip.
I can play that again.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm going to get Japan.
Okay, I guess I really don't know what he was doing there. I mean, it was just weird. It looked like he looked at someone in the audience and said, "What are you doing?" Maybe they got up and left or something like that. I'm not sure what happened with that, but it was just another kind of weird Biden moment that I decided to play for you guys. Another kind of weird situation that happened last night. Biden seems to whisper a cry for help when he talks about his staff adding things that he doesn't approve of. It's very weird. Listen, guys, I mean, this, the way he puts it, the way he frames this is he's talking about, he says his staff are adding things he doesn't approve of, which I think we all knew this. We've known this for a while. He has no control over his staff. They are the ones running the show. It's the, what do they call it? The inmates running the prison. And Joe Biden has completely lost control. But listen, I think this is kind of a cry for help. I think we should listen.
I love my staff, but they add things. They add things all the time. At the very end. I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I love.
So he not only, he says he loves his staff, but however, there's a qualifier there. They add things. And it's like, Joe, that's when you whisper, the point of whispering is to keep it quiet so other people don't hear. You're whispering into a microphone, Joe. Don't you know that? And the point of a microphone is that it amplifies your voice. So the whisper doesn't work here, Joe. I'm just FYI, Joe. The whisper doesn't work. It just sounds weird. But yeah, it looks like Biden doesn't have control over his staff because not only is he catching hell from his wife, he says, but his staff is adding things. So that's great. We have a president who is not in control of the ship. Not only is he not in control of the ship, but he's not even in control of his own faculties half the time. So fun stuff. Another thing Joe Biden said during this press conference, he said that he is following the advice of his commander-in-chief, which is kind of concerning because we all thought he was, in fact, the commander-in-chief. So if he's following the advice of his commander-in-chief, who is that? Who is your commander-in-chief, Joe?
I'm following the advice of my commander-in-chief, the chief of staff of the military, as well as the Secretary of Defense and our intelligence people. I'm following.
So I guess he meant the chief of staff of the military. Last one we have from this press conference. Biden weirdly whispers into the microphone when asked about Kamala Harris running instead of him. He has a kind of a weird reaction to this question. Once again, the whole thing, why are you whispering, Joe Biden?
You earlier explained confidence in your vice president.
Yes.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that. Mr. President. Okay. Thank you.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everybody.
This ends tonight's press conference. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone. That's it. No more press conference. President Biden is whispering into the microphone again. All right, let's end it. No more. All right, guys, that's all. We're done for the night. His meds are wearing off. Crazy stuff. But hey, guys, there are people in the Biden camp who will claim that this was a great look for Joe Biden. Joe Biden smacked it out of the park. He really hit a home run with this one. And one of those people is Harry Sisson. Yes, you all love Harry Sisson, the paid propagandist for the Biden administration. He lies to his audience and he says that Biden didn't use any teleprompters during his speech. Yes, that's what he says right here.
President Biden just gave an hour-long press conference with no notes, no teleprompter, no knowledge of the questions beforehand, and he executed it perfectly.
I don't know about that. What about this picture, Harry Sisson, where you have two giant teleprompters, one on either side of the podium, because when you have two teleprompters, the reason why they do this is because it looks more natural. On TV, it doesn't look like you're reading from a teleprompter, because imagine if the president was standing there just looking like this the entire time, reading from the teleprompter, right? So in order to make it look more natural to where he is not reading from a teleprompter, because you guys didn't know by now, politics is all a show, right? So what they do, one on each side, so he can look back and forth, read, and it looks like he's just scanning the audience. So that's why they position those teleprompters like that. I'm not against teleprompters. I'm just saying that's the reason why they do that. And Biden, of course, relies very heavily on teleprompters. And apparently those are invisible to Harry Sisson. I don't know exactly what that was all about. But prior to the press conference, Joe Biden called Zelensky. This is the reason why that meme was created. I'll go back to that meme here in a second, if I can find it in my jumble of links that I have for you guys. President Biden introduces Vladimir Zelensky at the NATO Summit. He introduces Zelensky as President Putin. Yes, look it.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. And now I want to hand it over to the president.
That's nice. He seems to be mixing up enemies and like allies. Isn't that weird? How he seems to be mixing up those two. So Donald Trump is his political enemy, right? And he mixed Donald Trump up with Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris up with Donald Trump. And here, I guess Ukraine would be considered, some sort of, I want to say an ally, but someone we're helping, right? And he mixes up Vladimir Zelensky with Putin. What gives? What gives, Joe Biden? Is really weird. Here's another. I thought this was a really good shot of what happened here. This is an up close view of Zelensky reacting to when Joe Biden called him President Putin.
What you're seeing there is a different angle, and you are seeing President Zelensky's reaction to the moment that President Biden mistakenly called him President Putin. And so you're seeing Zelensky's reaction.
You can't have much of a reaction, Zelensky, because we've given you hundreds of billions of dollars. So don't bite the hand that fed you. All right? You can't have much of it. It's all funny. He's got to stand there like a good little boy and chuckle when this thing happens.
What you're seeing there is a
so if you guys were wondering, that's why this meme was created. Hey, nice to meet you, President Trump. Hey, yeah, nice to meet you, President Putin. So incredible memes. Let's give the memers on X a hand clap. They did such a fantastic job during that press conference and the NATO Summit. We're going to go to some media attacks that are happening on the Biden campaign. They've slowed down a little bit, but not very much. I found this tweet by some random person on Twitter. I don't even know who this person is. Edward Dowd. But I thought this was a fantastic tweet. They say, the most disturbing thing about mainstream media turning on Biden is that about half the country had to be told by the propagandists it's a problem now. So all of a sudden, this is in the collective consciousness only because the mainstream media, aka the propagandists, decided that they were going to make it an issue. This wasn't an issue before. In fact, those of us on this side of the aisle, the Republicans, the right wing, we were called conspiracy theorists. We were told that the videos and the things that we pointed out were cheap fakes and deep fakes and laughed at. But now, all of a sudden, the mainstream media points it out, raises it up to for everyone to look at, and all of a sudden, it has credibility. Yeah. So it's very concerning. But he goes on to say they couldn't have their own discernment and use their own minds to see it. That is the problem. That is very scary. I think humans in general are susceptible to these types of things. But it just so happens right now, the left wing is especially susceptible to this way of thinking or viewing the world. They have no desire to look at the world and interpret the world themselves. They are perfectly okay with, it seems like, an outside institution telling them what reality is. And that is a very scary thing, I believe. Because when you have outside institutions telling you what reality is, you don't care what, I guess, some independent person talks about or what you yourself see, they can steer you in any direction. I believe this is why we have such division between the Republicans and the Democrats, the left and the right today. We really don't agree on anything at all the way down to, we've all seen it, the whole what is a woman situation debacle that happened. That's still kind of going on. We can't even agree on basic facts. I believe this is why, because no one wants to interpret things from themselves. No one wants to interpret reality in a critical way and use their brains. Everyone is simply trying to exist in the easiest way possible. No one wants to think. They just want to be told what to do. That's scary, okay? But to finish it out, he says, the biggest danger to the Republic are those empty vessels of humanity. They sit around waiting for the propaganda download. I mean, what a great tweet, guys. I mean, that's fantastic tweet by that guy. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Something that came out yesterday was very, very interesting. So apparently, Biden's campaign, I don't know if you guys remember this interview that Joe Biden did with this radio station in Madison, Wisconsin. But it just came out that apparently there were parts of this interview that Biden's campaign requested to be edited out. And the really crazy thing is that it actually happened. They actually did it. They complied. Listen.
President Biden called in for a radio interview, one of these interviews done to kind of quell concerns and show the president was fine and completely on point. After he did that call, the Biden campaign called that station asking them to edit out 2 of his answers. Civic Media, Wisconsin Progressive Talk Radio Network, acknowledged that staff took out the Biden campaign's suggested edits, deleting 2 answers from the president's July 3rd interview with host Earl Ingram. The first answer is Biden said, quote, "I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all other presidents combined, and in major positions, cabinet positions." Obviously not an accurate thing to say. The second, when Biden was talking about Trump's past comments about the Central Park Five, and we should note, like, this is a big journalism no editing out an answer because the politician in his campaign didn't like it, or they didn't like how he came across. I don't know exactly the reason. We'll find out from the Biden campaign maybe someday.
So I think the big one right there is, why did this radio station comply with this request? Why would you do something like that? So let's take a look at the edits here. There's a tweet that someone made of what these edits were. So at time 5:20, the removal of, quote, "and in addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all other presidents combined, and in major positions, cabinet positions." So they removed that part from the interview. And then at time 14:15, in reference to Donald Trump's call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, the removal of, "I don't know if they even call for their hanging or not, but they said convicted of murder." So very weird. The Biden campaign calls up this radio station and requests removal. So they are editing reality in real time. They want to have a false reality presented to the public, more so than probably any other president has done. Biden. They shield him from the public. When he goes out and does press conferences, he most likely has some sort of script. He calls on curated list of supporters or of reporters. When he does interviews, they give the questions to the interviewers first, or they at least approve questions. They either approve them or they give the questions to the interviewers. And then, even after President Biden gives an interview answering their own curated questions, if he answers in a way that they don't like, or that they deem unacceptable, or that they think the public is going to react negatively to, they will call up the radio station and request edits. What the heck, man? Insane. But Rachel Maddow, she was talking about Joe Biden, and she has a theory about what's happening. She says that she's worried that Biden's staff and probably his family just may be feeding Joe Biden a false representation of just how bad his poll numbers are. Listen.
I think that what Nicole points out about the reality about polling numbers for incumbent presidents and the real history of that versus what President Biden said, which was not actually factually accurate as far as I can tell, that's worrying, because it makes me worry that the president is being given information about his political standing that may not be based in reality, that may be sunnier than is real.
Absolutely he is. I've said this too. I've said, listen, Joe Biden, he's an older man. They don't want to stress him out. They don't want to stress him out any more than he already is. I mean, he's the president of the United States, right? That's a demanding job. He's old. He's becoming frail. So they probably just give him good news. They probably tell him that he's doing great. Kind of like Jill Biden. You saw Jill Biden after the debate. "Oh, good job, Joe. You did so good. You answered every question, and all Trump did was lie." You saw it. That's probably what happens behind the scenes too. They don't tell him that his poll numbers are way down. He's probably completely in the dark about those types of things. If he asks, or if they bring something up, it's got to be probably positive all the time. because he can only handle so much as an older gentleman in one of the most demanding jobs in the world. So in order to keep his stress level low, they just say, hey, things are all rosy. It's only sunshine and rainbows with your poll numbers. Everyone loves you. Everyone absolutely adores you, Joe Biden. And that's probably, going around in his head every single time he talks about his campaign. Morning Joe, he's got an interesting theory about what's happening behind the scenes, because we've all been asking this as well. Where is this coming from? All of a sudden we have a 180 by all these journalists, all these media companies. The reporters are now just absolutely releasing the attacks on Joe Biden. The papers, the news companies, the websites, press conferences. It's just over and over and over. Where's this all coming from? This just didn't come out of nowhere, because we all know that the media companies, they take their marching orders from somebody. No one really knows who. But it just all of a sudden happened. Morning Joe getting into the conspiracy theory, saying that he believes this came from Barack Obama, who is quietly working behind the scenes to orchestrate this. Wow. So when we say it, we are whack job conspiracy theorists, but when he says it, it's okay.
Is the Biden campaign and many Democratic officials do believe that Barack Obama is quietly working behind the scenes to orchestrate this. And if Joe Biden believes that, that's not going to get him out of the race any faster. Anytime David Axelrod attacks him, David Axelrod ensures that Joe Biden will dig himself in another day.
I mean, that's
anytime the pod bros say something nasty about Joe Biden, which they have repeatedly said nasty things about Joe Biden before the debate, after the debate, every time they do that, he digs in a little bit further. The pathway to Joe Biden graciously stepping aside does not go through the Obamas or the Clintons. It just doesn't. Again, as I said, because some people don't understand, I'm not talking about what ought to be. I'm talking about what is.
So, a lot to unpack there. Apparently, he says Obama is working behind the scenes to oust Joe Biden. Now, it's really weird because Obama tweeted after the debate that everyone has bad debates. So he seemed to be tweeting in support of Joe Biden. But now it looks like he is kind of a snake in the grass. And behind the scenes, he is trying to orchestrate Joe Biden's downfall. And I've thought for a while that, I mean, most of you probably thought too, that Barack Obama has a lot of influence in the Biden administration. And we thought maybe this was why Joe Biden was digging in his heels. But now Morning Joe here is saying that this is actually not the case. Apparently, there's a lot of vitriol. This is what they say. There's a lot of vitriol between the Obamas and the Bidens. So if Obama wants him gone, that's going to make him dig his heels in even more. So I don't know how to parse that. I'm going to bring up Obama's Twitter really quick and see if he said anything at all since then. Okay, so this is what he said that made everyone think that he was going to support Biden through thick or thin. Bad debate nights happen, trust me, I know. But this election is still a bad choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself. Between someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong, and will give give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit last night didn't change that. And that's what's at stake, blah, 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 blah. So the only other thing he has tweeted since then is this about 4th of July. So he really hasn't said much of anything at all. And in that other post that he made, it really looks like he's tweeting in support of Biden. But, you know, of course, we know we can't take these politicians at face value, just the facts of the matter. So that's very interesting. Obama possibly behind the scenes working to oust Joe Biden, his former vice president. Vivek Ramaswamy goes on Fox News and he calls Kamala Harris low IQ. And then this is what I really thought was awesome. He didn't stop at that. I've had this theory for a while about Biden and people like Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams, all these Democrats, all these people you look at who are in office, AOC, for instance. You look who are in office and you're like, how exactly did that person become representative? How did that person become president? How did that person become vice president? And you're like, what? Because they're either just so dumb, so old, it's almost unfathomable that they would be voted into office or be selected for something that just seems way out of the realm of possibility for themselves. So you look at these people and you wonder how they got there. Was it luck? I've thought, no, it's not luck. It's very intentional. They select these people because they're either dumb, low IQ, or like Biden, losing control of his mental faculties. This is a feature, not a bug. Because you don't want someone who is smart if you want to control them. You don't want someone who thinks for themselves if you want to control them. You don't want a critical thinker who really, weighs things in their mind, who has morals or ethics, or really that knows anything about what's going on. You want the dumbest person possible. So behind the scenes, you can be pulling the levers. And this is what Vivek Ramaswamy said the other night. Listen.
That's exactly right. And the reality is the people we elect to run the government in the United States anymore, Laura, they're not the ones who actually run the government. Kamala Harris's low IQ is the same as Joe Biden's cognitive difficulties. That's actually not a bug. It is a feature for the people who control them. That's what we ultimately need to dismantle in American politics. And I think Donald Trump winning this November is the last best chance we have in the foreseeable future to actually dismantle that managerial class in the deep state. That's what we're up against. And the figurehead they put up matters a lot less. That's exactly right. And the reality.
I agree, Vivek. Thanks, Vivek. Great point. I agree 115%. That is a fantastic point. Thanks for watching one of my previous videos, because that was a point that I've made multiple times. So, love Vivek. Great guy, I believe. But we have some big news, guys. Russia is back in the news. Yes. They say what comes around goes around, and what goes around comes around. So what went around in 2016 is coming back around in 2024. It's incredible, guys. Believe it or not. Russia is interfering in the 2024 election. Oh, no. Who is probably for Biden, right? Oh, to help Trump. Oh, wow. So Russia, of course, apparently, according to the news, is just absolutely going nuts to help Trump in the 2024 election. Yes. This is coming from U.S. intelligence. So, guys, trust it. U.S. intelligence said it, so you must trust it. Okay, guys? They don't have any political agenda whatsoever. They are just simply reporting what they are observing. Our intelligence companies, agencies, so trustworthy, guys. They have zero agendas, zero political agendas. Trust them, okay? Trust the FBI, trust the CIA, trust all of these intelligence agencies, the State Department. Trust them. When you hear intelligence agency, you should sit up and your back should go straight and you should listen. Because they are saying something, in fact, that is 100% trustworthy. I can't harp on that enough. Once again, trust them. But the officials say Russia intends to use social media to manipulate U.S. public opinion in favor of Trump. Oh, no. Officials with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence have warned that Russia has launched a plan to interfere in the 2024 election to bolster chances of former President Trump being elected. Watch them impeach Donald Trump for this. Russia 2.0. In a briefing with reporters on Tuesday, ODNI officials said that Russia is the preeminent threat to the election, and that while China doesn't plan to influence the outcome of the presidential race, the communist nation is being carefully monitored to see if it mingles in down ballot races. Yes. It's all the tactics we've seen before, primarily through social media. Efforts using influential U.S. voices to amplify their narratives and other tactics, an official said. And as far as who they're targeting, what we can say today is Russia is sophisticated enough to know that targeting swing state voters is particularly valuable to them. Wasn't it Putin that said that he would rather it be Biden who was in office? Didn't he say that? I believe he said that. So, straight from the horse's mouth. But let's continue on. Let's see what other gold we can glean from this article. But officials said that the intelligence community expects Russia will increase its underhanded activities as U.S. election day gets closer in order to manipulate public opinion and underscoring the threat to America's political landscape. Although former President Trump was not named specifically, so they're already priming the American people. When Donald Trump wins, they're priming them to see it as a Russia attack. There's like, listen, this is what they're going to be harping on. Trump wins. All Democrats are going to be screaming about for the next 4 years is that it was Russia. Watch. Russia. Oh, man. But ODNI officials said that Russian interference is mimicking what it says were similar preferences for U.S. presidential candidates seen in previous election cycles. Of course, these are probably the Trumps of the world. Russia is, quote, undertaking a whole of government approach to influence the election, including the presidential race, Congress, and public opinion. The official said, noting that Russia has grown more sophisticated over the years in election interference. So be afraid, guys. Be afraid of the big bad wolf of Russia. Yes. They're so bad. Not only can they use that fear sentiment to generate hundreds of billions of dollars, possibly trillions of dollars for the military contractors, if you will, but they also can leverage that fear. It's multifaceted, guys. That fear is already there. They've created it. The big bad wolf in your brain of Russia. They can leverage it for trillions of dollars to go to military contractors. And also they can have another thing that they can use it for, like a Swiss Army knife of fear. They can use it to leverage your fear against what happens in the elections. So remember, once one big bad wolf is created, they got to use it for multiple things, right? It's very incredible how they do it. But the Kremlin officials said, is seeking to influence specific voting groups in swing states. So you're talking about, you mean like the Kremlin is doing the same thing as our intelligence agencies are doing to us? Wow. At least they're a foreign country, right? At least the Kremlin is from Russia, not, our own intelligence agencies trying to brainwash us and propagandize us. You know what I mean? At least they're over there. So that's great. The Kremlin. I always thought that was a really cool name for like intelligence agency. The Kremlin. Doesn't that just sound cool? I'm not, okay guys, I'm not like advocating. I'm not like a Russia person, but I always thought that sounded kind of cool, the Kremlin. But as well as looking to promote divisive narratives and denigrate specific politicians, although no specifics were provided. An official said that artificial intelligence is making it easier for Russia and other actors to interfere in the U.S. political system, since the technology allows Kremlin operatives to mimic American Southern or Midwestern accents. That's crazy. Foreign adversaries continue to experiment with and have adopted at least some generative AI tools to more quickly and cheaply generate authentic-looking content tailored primarily for social media platforms that can target specific audiences, including in the U.S. So it looks like Russia may be using AI to generate propaganda, is what they're saying. And some of this AI stuff, guys, is pretty incredible, guys. I mean, I don't know if you've heard. I've seen ads that'll take a famous person's voice and likeness, and it's pretty darn close. Like the AI algorithm will take a voice and change it to sound like, say, I think the one I've seen the most is like a Joe Rogan ad where he is saying that he likes this pill or something like that, or this vitamin or this product. And it has his face, it has his voice, just a slight bit off, not very much. And as AI grows more intricate and detailed and their algorithms get better, pretty soon it's going to be almost impossible to tell the difference between what's fake and what's reality. So this is actually something that I could see happening when our elections, we're not really sure if what we're hearing from a candidate is real, what we're seeing from a candidate is real. So that's a very, very true thing, something that I think that our leaders should get ahead of and write maybe some clear legislation about just how you can use AI. Some really set in stone laws, because when you start bending reality to the point where you can't even tell the difference between reality and truth. I know the media propagandizes us all the time, but those are just words. If you believe the media, you are willfully ignorant. If you are watching a video that looks and sounds like it's X, Y, and Z candidate saying X, Y, and Z thing, and you can't tell the difference between a real video and a fake video, that's not really on you. So that's a very interesting thing that we should think of. But the official said that China is pulling data from TikTok and other social media platforms used in the U.S. in order to spread their influence narratives, as well as collect publicly available data on users and public opinion. So, yeah, you guys get the idea. Russia, of course. The big bad wolf is interfering in our elections, no doubt. Anna Paulina Luna, her inherent contempt resolution to fine Garland $10,000 every day he doesn't produce the tapes from Biden's special counsel interview failed. The House rejected it. Yes, guys, sad to say, this is true. But if you look here, 4 Republicans voted no and 13 Republicans didn't vote. Yes, if you notice any of these 4 Republicans and you are in their district, this should concern you. Duarte of California voted no. Joyce of Ohio voted no. McClintock of California voted no. Turner of Ohio voted no. Dan Crenshaw did not vote, which is really weird. It's really odd because Crenshaw came out in support of Anna Paulina Luna doing this. He did a whole video on it. So it's interesting to see that he just did not vote. What a turncoat. The Rhino pirate. So that's great. Crenshaw, total rhino, part of the Uniparty, lies through his teeth every time he talks. Granger did not vote. LaMalfa did not vote. Lambert did not vote. LaTurner, Lee, Massey, Mast, McHenry, Miller Meeks, and Rogers didn't vote. So that's not good. I didn't expect it really to pass. I thought there was a chance it would pass. I didn't expect that it would pass with her initial attempt where she wanted to hold him in inherent contempt and, throw him in jail. I didn't expect that to pass. But I thought maybe once she took the teeth out of the whole thing and just said she was going to fine him, I thought maybe it would pass. Also, another sobering thing, the Democrats block the SAVE Act in the Senate, leaving the door open for illegal immigrants to vote in the presidential election. Yes, guys. Senate Democrats block the passage of the SAVE Act, which, the SAVE Act, according to them, is very xenophobic and racist, and all Republicans are trying to do is suppress voting. But this is a bill crucial for enhancing the integrity of federal elections by mandating proof of citizenship, meaning that when you go to vote, you got to prove that, hey, I am a citizen of the United States, which seems pretty logical, right? You should prove that you are a citizen if you are going to vote to keep the integrity of our elections. The Democrats, they all argue, well, it's already illegal to vote in our elections if you are not a citizen of the United States. So it's like, okay, if it's already illegal, then why would you be opposed to us, ensuring that this happens? I drew this analogy the other day. It's like, say you have a buddy who buys a house and you see him installing locks on his door. And you go up to your buddy and you're like, hey, buddy, what are you doing, pal? It's already illegal to break into someone's house. Why are you installing locks on your door? Because the fact of the matter is, people don't follow the law all the time. That's why. It's the same thing about this gun control stuff. Making schools gun-free zones. We joke about this all the time. See a sign says this is a gun-free zone. Like, yeah, if someone was coming up to do with a nefarious purpose, like they are going to be like, oh, shoot, dang it. This is a gun-free zone. I can't do the illegal thing I came here to do. Same energy, right? It's crazy. But this decision comes just a day after the House successfully passed the bill with a vote of 221 to 198, with nearly every Democrat opposing the measure. The SAVE Act aims to amend the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 to enforce stricter voter registration requirements. Under the proposed legislation, voters need to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship to vote in federal elections, a shift from the current law, which permits states to demand citizenship proof only for local and state elections. So right now, you need it for local and state elections, but in a lot of states, they don't even demand it for the national elections. Mike Lee congratulated Chip Roy on passing the SAVE Act in the House, but the legislation faced opposition when brought to the Senate floor. Despite Lee's efforts to push for immediate passage, Senate Democrats objected to the bill. This is what he wrote. He said, I just called up the SAVE Act on the Senate floor seeking its immediate passage to ensure that only U.S. citizens will be able to vote in November. Democrats objected. There's only one downside to passing it. It'll stop non-citizens from voting. So the SAVE Act died in the Senate. So we'll see what kind of repercussions this has on our election in November. Very concerning stuff. Last one, guys. Tucker tickets in Phoenix. He's doing a show in Phoenix. Go for an ungodly amount of money. $18,000 seats. Well, it looks like 2 tickets for $18,000. Jack Posobiec posted this. Front row Tucker Carlson seats are going for over $18,000 on StubHub. This is from his upcoming Phoenix show. So look at this. This is on StubHub. If you look here. Section B, row 1. Oh, it looks like a pretty decent seat, or front row section. I would like to see what the nosebleeds are. Probably still pretty expensive. But no, sorry. $18,794 each. So I thought I said quantity 2 tickets. That is 2 tickets. Whoever's selecting this is selecting 2 tickets, but each of these tickets are almost $19,000. That is an absolutely ungodly amount of money. But hey, good for him. Big fan of Tucker. That's fantastic. That shows, supply and demand economics. You got to raise the price to meet the demand. And it looks like his ideas are heavily in demand, which is fantastic. Does that signal the tide is turning? I don't know. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for this morning. Thank you for watching. Let's see who we have in the chat. Real quick. 1 second. How are you guys doing? What's up? We got Michelle C in the chat. Michelle, she says, Tucker is the man. Yes, Michelle. Thank you for modding. Doing a fantastic job, as usual. Really appreciate Michelle for all her hard work and help. Michael Todd says, Tucker's my dog? Your dog is named Tucker. Wow. It's a good name for a dog. Michael Todd says, what's up? What's up, Michael? How's it going? Penny Taylor says, Biden said Trump is his VP? Yeah, that actually, well, kinda. That's kind of what happened. Let me bring that up really quick. So this is what happened right here. Let me rewind it just for you because you started the show late. I opened with this, actually. This is what happened.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president.
You hear?
I think she was
he wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. So technically, what he's saying is that he picked Vice President Trump to be vice president. So that's, of course, I'm joking, but I kind of joke, but I use the sarcasm a lot to point these things out, guys. That's probably my main humor is sarcasm. I'm a sarcastic person. I'm using it to point out, like, this guy is supposed to be the most powerful person in the United States, right? He's supposed to be the one, our commander-in-chief, the one who's supposed to lead us into battle, the one that's really supposed to make all of the important decisions that affect the rest of our lives, right? So, therefore, if he says something, we can, take it to the bank, right? If he says something, we can hang on his word and we can take it as fact, right? And I get it. He's human just like anyone else. But this has gone past the point of he's just human. He makes mistakes. And I think everybody knows that. Everybody knows this. And everybody's known this for a long time. Texas in the house. Morning, Andrew. Love your channel. Hey, Texas. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Mike Clark in the house. Morning, Andrew. Round Rock, Texas. Hey, Round Rock. Big fan. I don't know if you know this, but I went to school in Austin, Texas. I am a Longhorn, believe it or not. Yes. I am a Longhorn. I went to college at University of Texas at Austin. Texas says Tucker for VP. That would be sweet. Corporal Oreo says, I don't care how great Tucker is. I wouldn't pay 18 cents to see him or anyone else. The guy is rich AF already. Hey, I would pay 18 cents to hear him. He is rich, yes. But I'm okay with people getting rich if it's, for something that I think is right. And I think Tucker Carlson, he's gotten his money in a pretty right way. C. Sydney says Blinken has an OF look. Yeah. It's like he always, I think I've said this before. Blinken always has this look of concern on his face. It's like a resting concern face. Like, have you heard of some women have a resting bee face? Well, he has a resting concern face. I don't know if he had that before becoming Secretary of State for Joe Biden, but he definitely has it now. Pennsylvania in the house. Thanks, Eric. Sandra says, I thought you were a Razorback. No, sorry. Not a Razorback. You might be getting me confused with Veteran Biker. Veteran Biker, I believe he's a Razorback or a Razorback fan. No, I am a Longhorn, believe it or not. Corporal Oreo says, Tucker's dad was CIA. Yes, I do know that. Kind of weird. But, I mean, I just look at what Tucker says. And what Tucker says lately, the stuff he's saying sounds great. Now, if you start saying some weird things, I'd be like, wait a second, Tucker, what's going on here? But I think he is moving the needle in a positive way right now. Blinken has resting constipated face. Thanks, kitty cat. True. That's facts right there. Yeah, that's better than resting concerned face. Resting constipated face. I like that one. Mike Clark says, yes, go Horns. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out this morning. If you could, please, if you haven't yet, hit that like button. Share the stream if you can. If you'd like to support the show, consider becoming a member. But I hope everyone has a fantastic day. It is the weekend. It is Friday, in fact. Guys, it's Friday. Yes, it's Friday. And for those of you that don't work on the weekends, that's probably a great relief. So I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Make sure you like and subscribe before we get out of here. But ladies and gentlemen, I will see you on the next one. God bless.